Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. Confirming tonight later in the hour. Mike Johnson will join us here momentarily. It's a big one in Vegas all week, but also tonight. You got Edmonton going for 17 straight tonight, tying the record. Man, imagine walking into a rink thinking we have a chance to win 17 in a row.
If they do it tonight, their next game is in Anaheim.
I know. Which that is a trap game. If I've ever
Could you imagine they
it's
beat?
Not, man. It's not.
You don't think so? You think that's where they just tee off 8-0?
Yes.
But like I think tonight, if they can get through Vegas, that Anaheim game, it is a spicy
I think
meatball.
it's terrifying.
Because they're in Vegas tonight.
That's what I'm saying. Like
They could get no-name goalie in Anaheim. Never know.
That could happen, right? You
Lucas
get a goal.
He actually stole one from them last year. 4-3, made 50 saves. He was
There you
unbelievable.
go. He decides to stand on his head.
He's a well-known goalie, Dostal.
We like him a lot up here in Toronto. He's very well known.
Toronto Sun loves him.
Toronto Sun. Generally, he's trending on Hockey DB, right? Everyone knows who he is. But yeah, you got that tonight. You've got, like, again, the Super Bowl's there. I'm curious how many people, like, what a double shot. Like, if you're down there for the game, although if you're going for the game, you're probably not there on a Tuesday night.
Yeah,
but if you're down there covering the game, it's a building I'd try to get into to watch. Like, if I'm Duffy or Kara or whatever, I'm doing whatever I can to go watch that hockey game tonight.
Not hard to do. Not hard to do.
No, I'm sure they can get in the building if they want to. I mean, does Duffy pull a media guy? Like, he's probably a media pass guy. He can.
What time does that game start? 10:30 out here or 10 o'clock? Like, that's a 7 o'clock game out there. Keep in mind, you're in Vegas. You can go to that game and
All
then
day.
start your night.
Right. Like, they're taping stuff
That's
during
an
the
appy.
day.
The game's an appy.
All
It's
day.
an appy, exactly.
All day it's an appy.
Yeah, it's a 7 o'clock local start game. You're done by 9:48.
Oh, nothing better than that.
10 o'clock dinner at Delmonico Steakhouse.
Yeah.
And then you go out afterwards.
Place your bets before the game when they cash.
There you go.
Never know.
You never know.
That's where that voice came
You
from.
never know. It's Vegas. There's nothing better than going to a game that you cashed a winning ticket on too.
Is that what you would do? Sit in your tracksuit and that bucket hat you had in Vegas before the game? Like at lunch with a coffee and just
I literally did that, and I hit on two bets. I bet Leafs
Tiger.
money line, and that was a future. But that night, I bet on the Leafs to win that game.
Did you?
And I bet Austin Matthews anytime goal scorer. And they both hit.
Didn't the Leafs win like 6-3
I didn't know you
or
did
something?
Yeah, well, I had bet on both that night. That's why I was so jacked. I was like really into it was great atmosphere and everything, and we were there.
But I didn't know you cared that much. That's why you cared.
I was a little bit over
You're
the top.
like Kramer.
The double clap was a little bit excessive. Specifically Matthews. I remember his goal. It was like it was Flower and net, I believe. And I want to say he psyched him earlier in the game. He went upstairs and Flower like just got him, and then when sometimes he fakes up and leaves it on the ground and goes 5-0. It was that goal. Like, I remember watching it being like, check, please. Yeah. We'll be heading back there to see how everyone's doing later. We have a winning ticket. Like, you walk in, you're like, we have a winner.
Yeah,
We got a winner here. Meanwhile, it probably was for like $50.
So what?
But still, hey, a winner's a winner.
Think of how much money. When you go to Vegas, I actually just say to myself, I know I'm going to donate X amount of money.
Right, exactly.
I'm leaving it there. I know it.
Well, and the Leafs were dogs that night. I was just like, I'm going to go. I'm going to say I bet on a Leaf game to win. You know, whatever happens. It's not like you really have a read on it one way or the other in terms of actually being in the building.
Right.
But that was mystic, man. That was a mystic evening. And I was literally in the tracksuit, coffee in hand.
The creepiest, greasiest picture in my head because I don't know what I was doing. I was just wandering around.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw you. I'm like, look at that guy with his leg crossed, a coffee, and all of the sheets and spreads in front of him.
Because I bet the Leafs that night, anytime goal scorer that night, and I bet Tiger to win the Masters that year, and he won.
Wow.
That was a good feeling when you're shipping the ticket back. You're sending it back the other way.
Do they mail it back to you with a check? Like, how does that even work? Because
they just send you a check back. Absolutely. If you get it at a sports book or whatever. All right, here's Mike Johnson, our TSN Hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. How you doing, Johnny?
What's going on? My very first, guys, Mystic experience in Vegas. I was playing in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
I was hurt. The Coyotes were going into San Jose for the night before the All-Star break.
Oh, no.
It was a guaranteed loss night like you could not even imagine. San Jose was one of the best teams in the league. Coyotes were not. And I'm like, if you're ever going to say, hey, you know, we want to get a guaranteed winner, bet against Arizona. I go to the sports book to watch the game. Of course, I didn't bet it because we're not allowed, but I'm thinking I could. And the Coyotes were down 5-0 at the end of the first period. I'm like, oh, man, talk about guaranteed win night. And I just let it sail.
Yeah, you would have been paying like minus 450, though. Maybe worse odds than that. Like, those are the crazy games where, like, as we were saying, if Edmonton wins tonight and they go into Anaheim, for the record, that screams trap game.
But you know how many times I've looked at a schedule and said, obviously not while I was playing, but now I'm like, that's a really tough back-to-back, and that team on the second half of that is really good, and they usually punish teams. And then I look at the score the next morning, and it's an 8-0 loss. It's like, as much as you look at some of those automatics, they're going to get pumped tonight, it doesn't always play out
Doesn't
like
always play out that way. Yep.
That's how hockey works. Problem with goaltenders, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's the issue with them.
Well, that and peewee mistakes, Johnny.
Oh, my gosh.
Peewee mistakes. Man,
Okay.
that commentary was interesting last night.
I don't know about O or Noodles. Like, maybe Noodles as a goalie, you heard some really pointed comments. But if you're Liljegren, right? It was Liljegren who was out there at center. And, like, you go into practice today, like, what are you thinking at practice? Like, oh, boy. Like, that he's talking to me. And the funny thing is, I was watching the game, and I was thinking essentially the same thing. Like, who's paying attention to what's going on back there? The goaltender slapping his stick on the ice, alerting the players. The bench, presumably, with the puck was right in front of, would be yelling, even, letting the guys know what's about to happen. I think it was Matthews who turned it over to begin with, but then Liljegren just sort of posted up, protecting a passing lane that didn't exist. Like, the guy, McLean, is coming out of the other side of the ice. Even if he doesn't block the pass, you think he would have hustled over to some version of that passing lane instead of just sort of standing there like, oh, well, there he goes. I guess what's he doing over there?
I go to 34. 34 knew he was getting off the ice, get the puck behind the net, and get off the ice because that's where it all started. Yeah, Liljegren was doing whatever he was doing, but Matthews was tired. He was out there at the end of the power play. Just roll it behind the net. End of story. Play ends.
Also, you're right. Absolutely. But you know how forwards get. Like, I think it's not to excuse it, but it is more normal that at the end of a power play, forwards don't really hear that banging of the stick and think, okay, I better make a safe play. They're like, I'm going to make a good play and an aggressive offensive play and think that we're still in the power play and not really think about the fact that it may be expiring. But you're right. But I actually thought about before that, again, I was watching the game, sort of analyzing it, and I think there was a whistle 1 minute and 5 seconds into the power play. And there had been 2 clears and resets, and Sheldon Keefe did not change the first group. And to me, I'm like, I took notice. I'm like, okay, he's going to let the big boys ride here and let them do their thing. I was surprised that he didn't change it up there because they had looked a little bit tired in the middle of that play, and yet they kept them on the ice.
Yeah, and we discussed that in the last hour, that it's a catch-22, you know, with this market, with those players, the amount of investment in that first power play unit, where it's a low-scoring game, low-event game. You change it up, and power play 2 goes out there and chops the puck into a square, and it's like, well, why didn't you leave the big boys out there?
Yeah.
You know? So I think Sheldon, in a way, is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. But I think you're right that the coach still has to have some sort of responsibility for a situation like that. Yet it is such an obvious detail to the game, knowing when the guy gets out of the box. Like, he's not wrong. That is something you learn as a kid. Like, you can't learn that in the NHL, or you're never going to make it to the NHL.
This is not some sort of sophisticated philosophy.
No.
That he's trying to get us to understand. No, this is something that literally, at 12 years old, you're supposed to figure out and know how to protect it. So, I mean, that wasn't good, and he wasn't happy. And I didn't hear him say anything about the final. But there was about 5 bad defensive plays, and if any one of them would have gone differently, that puck wouldn't have got in, right? If Brody gives Riley a better pass, if Riley doesn't cough it up the middle, if the forward close on the guy who gets the shot, if Riley doesn't get a bad box out and let Enval be in front of the net, if Samsonov makes a pretty good save, any of those things happen, and they score like that game-winning goal, they get at least 1 point, maybe they get 2. And like that was like not a comedy of errors, but a calamity of errors, one after another. Like, somebody just make the right play quickly and get them out of here. Like, they battled hard. They actually deserved to win the game. Like they were the better team last night, but that would be so frustrating that you had all those guys out there. It was Morgan Riley and TJ Brody. It was Tavares' line, like veteran guys you trust to make good decisions in that spot with 2 minutes left on the clock. And they all sort of botched it, which was be irritating as well because the point was there. And at least they're in a spot in the standings where they can kind of just, we didn't get a point that night. They need every point they can get. They're going to be battling just to make the playoffs.
Johnny, what do you make of the coach's comments where he said we have to do a better job of getting more out of our players? What is the quote, Hayes?
He was speaking today.
They did it like 50. They've done it 50% of the games.
Yes. So he was speaking earlier. Do we have that clip, JP? The one from today? All right. Why don't we play it? We'll all address it. This is what Sheldon Keefe had to say today about where the Leafs are at this point.
We've got a good team here. We've got good players. As coaching staff, we need to do a better job with them and work with them and help them to recognize our own role in getting the team to play to its potential. And I think we've done that. I would say about 50% of the games we've been really good. That's not enough. That's not enough in the NHL.
So, what does that comment mean? Is that him not doing his job as the coach, or is that just what the lineup presents, or how do you take the comment?
I can't imagine he intended it to be spun as the coaches only have done their good job 50% of the games, right? Like I can't imagine that. I think he means we have a good team. Everyone's got to play a certain way and embrace a certain role to be successful. And the players have applied what they've been told to do and embraced it the way that I'm looking for half the games. I'm trying to think of what that really means. Does that mean the third line can't get scored on? Does that mean your defensive guys have to be defensive? Like, I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about. Is he talking about the top line's got to score more goals? Like, it's hard to think he's going down that road. I'm not sure what more is he like. We can talk about breakdowns. We can talk about mistakes they make. We can talk about goaltending problems. We can talk about the roster construction. But like a lot of that is sort of beyond the players' control as far as like the roster, right? Like, so how much more is he expecting from this group? And I wonder if that's a bit of the. Obviously, publicly you're going to expect a lot, but I wonder if internally, if you're being realistic, how much can you really expect from this team? How much better do you think they are than what they have shown?
All right, Johnny, we're going to throw you on hold, see if we can get your connection. I don't want to go Bill O'Reilly here again.
You've had a tough day. You've been calm. You breathe in.
It was,
breathe
Duffy.
Very calm.
I didn't hear that.
Calm. I'm channeling Duffy. Do not channel Bill O'Reilly. Channel Duffy. I agree with Johnny that there's no way Keefe was saying, I'm going to go out there and throw my staff under the bus for 50% of the games.
No.
Like, no coach is ever going to do that. Like, put the spotlight on me.
Yeah.
Especially considering the heat that's already on him, the team that they have. But again, 50%, like that's a large chunk. We're talking, they've played almost 50 games. Like,
so what, they've had 25 games?
25 games where it's like that really wasn't that good. And how do you rectify that with 34 to go? Like, what happens between now and the end of the year where you say, all right, that kind of stuff has all been tidied up. We have Johnny back. Do you have an answer on that, Johnny? Like, does it feel like, considering what Keefe said today about his analysis of the season so far, that they have their finger on the pulse on how to fix it between now and the middle of April?
If they did, wouldn't they have fixed it already?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're 4 months in. We're 50 games in. And if the message was going to be better sent or better received, it already would have been. So I think, like, at this point of the year, you're Bill Parcells. You are what your record says you are, right? And nothing else. So, I don't know. I mean, if they could somehow turn it around and get 80, 90% of their games being exactly the right way, then that would be tremendous. But whatever we see to this point, I think that's what we're going to see. Like, you may see great individual performances. The team may look better, but this is the team. I think this is sort of not scratchy, but this sort of inconsistent, good but not great, not dominant by any stretch, dominant players but not a dominant team. That sort of feels like what they are, and you can coach them up any which way you want. I don't know if you're going to show much different than that.
Johnny, even the best players in the league have some dips, and we've all talked about Nylander at the beginning of the season, the first 35 games of the season. It was ultra positive because he was so dialed in. and there's been a dip. Is this just kind of a thing that happens throughout an 82-game season, or what is your analysis of just watching us play right now?
Yeah, I mean, if it was just in the normal course of a season, that's probably what we'd say. Like, he's not skating quite as well, doesn't have it quite as much. He's not finding loose pucks, not turning pucks over quite the same way. The challenge is the dip sort of coincided with the contract, which would, could make the appearance that he was playing harder to get the deal done. Now that the deal's done, he's taking his foot off the gas and taking a breath, which might be true. Like, Lord knows if I got that contract, I would take an exhale and be like, okay, well, that's amazing. We earned that. But I think it's really, for him, it comes down to skating, though. Like, when he skates really well, that's when he's a dominant player. And that also means skating away from the puck. Because when he was at his best, if you remember a couple months ago, he was turning pucks over. He was picking pucks off, a lot like Austin Matthews does, on the back chip, lifting sticks, turning them over and going the other way. So it is not just a blip because it sort of times out with the contract, but it's probably just a blip in that no player plays 80 great games. I mean, even the best players maybe play 60 great ones, and he's still on pace to potentially do that. But you'd like to see him sort of shed the fact that it might be contract-related in the timing.
Johnny, where were you at with Samsonov's game last night? We talked about it in the 4 o'clock hour. I thought he made some really good saves. I also thought there were a couple kind of scary moments. Like he looked a little off-kiltered, not sure where the puck was, that type of stuff, where I thought it was just okay for him. What did you make of it?
Just good enough to be okay, but not quite good, or just good enough to lose. You know what I mean? Like, but I think the what you're talking about, and I can agree exactly. He doesn't still give you a lot of confidence when you watch him. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes he's fighting for pucks. He doesn't look like he knows where they are. They kind of hit him, and he's battling hard. I give him full credit, but he was nowhere close to that guy on the breakaway on Kyle McLean. Like, I mean, he was nowhere close to that. Even the Engvall 5-hole stuffer was not, you'd like him to maybe get a paddle down or something there, but he was okay. He was okay. He's not the guy that you'd say that's the reason why they lost, but he wasn't the guy you'd say that's one of the reasons why they won. And it was right there for him. And he was outplayed by the guy on the other end by considerable margin. So not a bad night, not a great night, sort of just okay. And I think the Leafs, maybe some of the reality setting in is that they might need actually really good goaltending down the stretch to go on a run, to win, 20 of the 34 games, which is not a ton, but if it's they might need better than he gave last night. Not that that was bad, but they might need better.
So a couple of other Canadian teams in action tonight. We mentioned, obviously, Edmonton and Vegas, but Elias Lindholm will make his debut tonight. Vancouver's in Carolina. I have not seen anything online of his line mates or where he's playing, but Winnipeg's in Pittsburgh, and Monahan will make his debut tonight, and he's on a second line with Perfetti and Ehlers. Which I guess was expected. I mean, I think they knew and Scheifele's off the IR, so Scheifele was going to be their first line center. Lowry was going to be their third.
I like it for Perfetti. Take away some heavy lifting.
Yeah,
I think it's a great move for in that aspect.
And you've got Nemestikov. You've got other guys that are there that can push in and move him around. If Monahan, he doesn't have to be a top 6 guy on that team. Like, they can push him down. He can kind of move all around. He can be versatile for me. I don't know how you feel, Johnny. I know they were looking, for somebody to kind of plug into that second line center. But if he's not a perfect fit, they do have some depth there now where guys can mix and match. They've done it with Scheifele being injured.
Yeah, I think that's a great spot for him because the one thing Monahan doesn't have is sort of foot speed. The one thing Perfetti and Ehlers do have is foot speed, right? So he can allow them to transport the puck up the ice. Ehlers is as good as anyone in the league. And then once they get around the offensive zone, Monahan's very smart, crafty, and will be able to figure it out. He's good on the faceoffs. Yeah, he's a good fit there. That's why they went and got him. And now you can go Scheifele, who can do a little bit of everything. Monahan, maybe you have to protect him defensively because he's not the best, but you have Lowry right behind him who can eat up all those heavy lifting minutes. And even Nemestikov, as you mentioned, a veteran guy who could Iafalo's on the 4th line in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. So you put Nemestikov and Iafalo out there, you're like, okay, we're okay. They can play against anyone. So that seems to be stacking up pretty nicely. And as far as out west, Hayes, I think Lindholm is playing on the second line with Pettersson.
Ooh,
wow!
And Ilya Mikheyev, our former buddy.
Interesting.
And they broke up the 649. It's going to be Miller and Besser up front. and Lindholm with Pettersson, I think, to start. Maybe there's the country mate thing, the couple of Swedes get them together. But what I'm fascinated to watch Lindholm, we know all the stuff he does well. He'll continue to do well. Will he find an offensive spark, something closer to what he did 2 years ago? Or will he be something closer to what it is this year? If he's what he was 2 years ago, forget it. The Canucks will be the wagon. Yeah. If he gives them something that he's given this year to Calgary, then they'll be better, but not wildly better.
Yeah, and listen, they jumped in front of it like we talked about last week. They were not willing to wait. They wanted their guys. They paid a price to get their guys. They're also confident in where they're going. Like we're discussing the Leafs and what are they? We think they're a playoff team, but like Vancouver knows. Right. Winnipeg, I think, knows. They should. But Winnipeg's jockeying for position, man. Like Dallas and Colorado, that's going to be a grind, man.
Dallas had one of the...
It's top heavy. And even like Nashville's been good. St. Louis is coming on.
I know, but Dallas, nobody talks about them. I think they're tied for 4th in the league.
Right.
Like nobody talks about the Dallas Stars. So they're a really good team.
The issue is you can't not finish first because then you got to play Colorado or Dallas in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You can't not finish first in the Pacific because then you got to play Vegas or Edmonton or Vancouver in the first round. Like that's why it's important those deals get done early and they keep pushing ahead because I think even Vancouver 4 points up on Vegas and like 10 on Edmonton, but Edmonton has 4 games in hand, maybe 12 on Edmonton. But Edmonton has 4 games in hand. Like, yes, they are clearly comfortable. Yes, they are in first and there for a reason. But they're not, like, home and cooled division champs. And to avoid being second in both the Central and the Pacific is huge because a Stanley Cup contending team is going home in the first round. Like, absolutely one of the top 8 favorites, one of those 3 teams in the Central, one of those 3 teams in the Pacific will be done after the first round, which will be brutally disappointing for 2 teams.
Well, and I think Sid was asked about it again over the weekend. He says it basically every big event that he wants them to revert back to 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, because he did say that it benefits you greatly if you have a great season, like the top seeds in the conference. Yet I think this will still play out that way, like you just said. I mean, the same thing in the Atlantic Division, where if Boston's in first and they can avoid Florida, the Leafs, Tampa in the first round, that is beneficial. Yet. Again, you look at it now. I think Vancouver, if the playoffs were to start today, 1 through 8, who would they play? Nashville in the first round or St. Louis in the first round?
Yeah, but they'll play one of those 2 teams anyway.
Anyway, exactly. So it may not actually matter that much in terms of going back to 1 versus 8 and 2 versus 7. And it doesn't seem like they have any interest in changing it now anyway.
Yeah.
Unless the divisions are completely disjointed. Like I would argue that Boston and Florida are like, if we play the Leafs in third or Detroit, like that's not the same kind of matchup we're talking about in Pacific or the Central. Like, it's not the same kind of quality. They probably would prefer, like, let's stick to divisions. We want Detroit in the first round if you're Florida. You're like, we're going to roll that team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like they might shuffle if you made 1 through 8, and maybe then if Edmonton finishes second, they might have to play Dallas instead of Vegas, but it's still going to be a good team, right? They're not going to get a garbage team in there. So, I don't know. I don't mind the current playoff format. I think there's other things to worry about because, generally speaking, it all works itself out in the wash. But, the West is going to be – the West has all of a sudden got much better, much top-heavier than the East.
Yeah.
Like those 6 teams are much better than – I guess you'd give them – Boston could probably hang with that group, maybe Florida. I wouldn't give any other team in the East as a favorite against any of those 6 teams if the playoffs started today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. All right, Johnny, we'll leave it there, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
All right, boys. Have a good day.
There he is, Mike Johnson, our TSN Hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Check out Maple Toyota's huge truck and SUV lineup, including Tundra, 4Runner, Highlander, and Grand Highlander, in stock and ready to deliver. Visit mapletoyota.com. That is a good practice to do. Like, how many teams in the East? Like, I think there's more depth or parity in the East.
Yeah.
Probably Boston notwithstanding. And I guess Columbus and Ottawa, the way they've started, you exclude them. But, between Florida and Montreal, there's discrepancy, but it's closer to being dragged to the middle. I think Florida should be closer to Boston probably than other teams. But
that's why every team is saying this year of all years, you got to get in.
Yeah.
Well,
somebody could pull an LA Kings. LA was an 8 seed, their first cup.
Mm-hmm.
They just crushed everyone.
Yep.
From Washington, who has 51 points, to, I guess, Carolina has 61 points. Everyone else is lumped in there except for Boston, Florida, and the Rangers.
Right.
That's 10 points. How many? And you got to
Look at those
whack of
Tampa
teams.
Bay Lightnings.
Yeah.
Right back up there in third, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, the Leafs have 2 games in hand on them. That's, the games in hand are critical. They lost one last night to Detroit, lost one to Tampa because they had games in hand. Got to win the games that you are in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Leafs play, was it Dallas tomorrow? Is it Dallas tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's a good team.
Absolutely.
Dallas is a good team.
Yeah, their schedule, they get a tough schedule. Like they're going to play good teams. Man, there's a lot of good teams. Like every team in the league is going to say that, but it's not going to get easier down the stretch for the Leafs. All right, Luke Wilson coming up just after 6 o'clock, live from Vegas. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Boston trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
Well, I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, confirm or deny that one of the more famous segments I think that we've done. People really seem to enjoy it, and every once in a while, people decide to channel their inner Fergie, right? And yesterday was media night down at the Super Bowl, and Travis Kelce was, of course, up there and a very popular figure. Yeah. I would assume he had a lot of media that generally wouldn't cover the Super Bowl that were there specifically to ask him stuff about Taylor Swift.
Probably.
Like I would guess he had the most unique media because of how many people wanted to be there to ask him simply about his personal life.
So it'd be Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and those type of shows might have reporters there anyway.
Yeah.
But like I would think with him, it's like we got to get to him. When's he going up? We don't care about the game. We got to ask him about Taylor at the Grammys the night before.
I don't want to be negative, but I know how this story goes.
Do you?
They're getting married.
I get that, but he retires. He starts morphing into Mr. Swift. Like on red carpets, he will be called Mr. Swift. And if he's not in the limelight and he's not Mr. Tight End catcher guy, I've seen it a million times.
I don't know, man. I don't know because he's got that podcast going. I think he'll get into media if he wants to. He's still, and he's one of the all-time. It's like Gronk, man. Like Gronk transitioned right into Fox and doing all types of stuff with FanDuel.
Dude, I've just seen it a lot. I played with a lot of guys. They retire 2 weeks later. They go to the gym. They come home. The whole house is empty, and there's a note on the fridge. I swear to God.
Okay, I understand that, but I don't think that's going to happen this time.
Actually leaves a note.
Note on the fridge. Thanks for everything. You're not in the limelight anymore, and I'm ninja dust, and it's over.
Well, that's depressing. I mean,
it is.
I hope that doesn't. I hope Taylor Swift.
I know. You go up to guys you haven't seen them in 15 years. Hey, how's it going? How's so and so? Well, I retired and I went to the gym and I came home and the house is empty. And there's a sticky note on the fridge.
A Post-it.
A Post-it note.
I don't anticipate that will happen here. I don't even know if they live together.
You imagine if it was time, like people as he's driving away, the moving truck. Like,
dude, that happens, man. I'm
tracking the phone.
Yes. As soon as this guy gets to the red light, pull the moving van in. And have the back door open because the couch is going in it.
I don't advocate for that.
I can either confirm or deny that.
And I don't want to see that happen. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't believe that happens.
It could be a Mr. Swift situation.
Well,
that'll hit a nerve with him.
But I don't know. I mean, listen, I think he's going to have to. He's probably feeling like. Remember when he was on a bye week? He was down in Brazil. Again, I'll bet you if they win or lose, they win. He goes back to Kansas City for the party and for the parade, and he is right to Australia. And he's right, and he is riding. He's got to because she's been going every single game.
Agreed.
I think they're in love and all that kind of. He's probably really excited to do that. But
think of power couples. There will be a nickname for the two of them. Like remember, was it Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck? Benifer. Wasn't it Benifer?
Yeah, Benifer.
There will be a nickname.
Yeah, why is there not a nickname yet? Or are we just not like cool enough to know it?
There probably is a nickname for them, but I don't know what it is.
Well, maybe it's something to deal with Fergie because he was asked, like Kelce was asked last night, I think about the new album or something like that. You guys want to hear?
Yes, I want to hear this.
Chelsea last night.
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Yeah, very Fergie.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
That is exactly like Fergie.
He
Put it in the Sting.
Yeah.
Add that to the Sting for next week.
I think it should be a part of that.
It is.
All right.
The hesitation, everything.
Everything. I
nails it.
can neither too, which is like perfect. Neither confirm nor
Maybe they're
deny.
asking about his brother. Is his brother 100% retired?
No, it's
sure?
not. It's not 100% for sure yet.
Maybe
I
that
think
was
it's
it.
trending in that direction, but
Hey,
I
forget,
don't know.
Like,
I think he was asked about the album. I don't know. I guess he said he's heard some of it. Who knows?
yeah.
I think he's going to spill the beans on the whole album.
What if he just said?
What if he's
"Yeah,
like,
the
it's
title track."
awful. It's really not my thing.
I'm in one of the songs.
Yeah. All right. Confirm or deny. You guys know the way this works. Statements are made. We go around the table. We confirm them or we deny them. Confirm or deny. Tyler Bertuzzi should move further down the lineup, out of the top 6.
I'm going to deny this, and I don't think you're going to like what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Put him back with Matthews and Marner and say, we need you.
You're going to promote him.
I'm going to promote him and say,
Okay.
you've been a top-end guy your whole career. You came here on the premise of playing with Matthews and Marner. We need to shake things up a little bit. We need a spark. Get back up with those guys. Go to the net and start ripping home goals and be a game changer for us and change the whole momentum of all of this. That's exactly what I would do with that guy. And I know you think that's crazy.
I do, because I go the complete opposite way.
See,
That's just an uninformed.
I'll confirm.
I'll back the U-Haul up in your driveway and take the couch for that.
That's fine, man. That's fine. You'll never see me again. I'm happy with that move. I haven't been happy for years. I'm waiting to go in a different direction.
I think he's on to something because I brought this up in the last hour. Who's going there? Who are you promoting?
Okay, but what? He's just entitled to a lifetime role in the top 6. The guy scored 1 goal in 2.5 months.
Kiefer, listen to me on that one and pull the trigger on that transaction starting tomorrow night, and you're going to see a heater lineup starting with Tyler Bertuzzi.
So, but Nyes goes down with Tavares and
I don't
Nylander.
care what happens after it. I'm just talking
Nick
about
Robertson.
I'm talking about creating a.
I just don't trust anybody else to go there. Not that he hasn't been lighting it up, but I think there has to be some form of consistency. If I'm Marner and Matthews, for example, and you want to put him there, don't you want to trust what that player is going to do? Game in and game out. They knew what Zach Hyman was going to do. They knew what Michael Bunting was going to do. Now, all of a sudden, it's Pontus Holmberg, it's Nick Robertson, it's Matthew Nyes, it's Tyler Bertuzzi. The other two are the show. This is the guy that's got to be straight line, hard to play against.
That's Tyler Bertuzzi. Put him there. It's 100%.
So then you
confirmed.
ask him, I'm going to put you there. Go do something. And you got to find some chemistry with them. You're more than half. People are saying it's the halfway mark. They're not. It's not halfway. They're coming up on 50 games. They're at 40. Next game tomorrow is 49 games. You've got 33 or 34 games here to get it together. I think I'm confirming or denying. I'm staying. I'm having him stay in that top 6, and I give him an opportunity to play big minutes.
All right. There you go. I remember having discussions like first week at camp. Is this the best line the Leafs have ever had?
Yeah.
Better than Hyman, Matthews, and Marner. Better than Bunting, Matthews, and Marner. And it just never materialized. Confirm or deny, one of Aiden Hill or Stuart Skinner will be Canada's #1 goalie at the 2026 Olympic Games.
What did you say?
One of Aiden Hill or Stuart Skinner, who are playing each other tonight, will be the starting goalie, the #1 goalie in 2026.
This is the stupidest one we've ever done. You know why? Because of course one of them is going to be because there's no one else.
Right.
This is 100% confirmed. Pull the U-Haul out of the driveway.
One of like just a starter or just playing on the team?
The #1 guy. Game 1 against Sweden.
It's 100%.
One of those two guys. That's 2 years, man.
I know,
That's 2 years.
I mean, unless...
Oh, so a guy from the Quebec Ramparts is going to be...
Oh, but Devin Levi.
Devin Levi, my boy. I've always been
Hold
a fan.
on. How about this? What about if Mackenzie Blackwood
in
gets
the
traded
minors
somewhere?
right now.
Right.
If Blackwood gets traded to a contender at the deadline here and does something. I'm still going to confirm it because I think Skinner's dug himself out and he's looked really good. And Aiden Hill won a cup and showed that he can play in high-pressure situations. I'm going to confirm it, but I should almost be Fergie on this one.
It feels very Fergie-like. It's very
Fergie.
Jason or Travis Kelce-like. Yeah. Listen, if this was like next year's Four Nations Cup, I would 100% confirm. It feels like it's one of these two guys. 2 years is a long stretch, not only for someone else to show up, but for these guys to fall back.
Correct.
Right? Like, what if Skinner just kind of hits a wall, or it's like, I don't know if you can win with that guy, bad playoff performances. Aiden Hill's got a cup, and he's got one in the bag. So that, I think, gives him the lead as of right now. But, he's still got to continue to prove who he is, what he is.
Aiden Hill went in the net because Logan Thompson wasn't available. Another Canadian kid.
Robin Leonard wasn't available.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, you're right. There was 5 before Aiden Hill, or Aiden Hill was their 5th goalie. But Logan Thompson's a really good goalie. What if he ends
What
up
happened to
pushing-
Leonard? Did he retire?
He's had that injury, and
he's
I
had
don't know if
some
he's going to
stuff
play
going
again.
on.
I haven't heard anything, but he's out for the year, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's out for
Seems like it's probably
infinity.
not going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I probably should bet against myself. I'm going to confirm it, but I think I'm going to be wrong on that.
Okay, all right. I will deny it. I will deny it. 2 years.
Yeah.
Devin Levi.
You gotta get. Give me something.
I mean, who's to say?
You know a guy in
Darcy
the Quebec
Kemper in
Ramparts.
2 years isn't red hot at that point.
You know a young stud with the Quebec Ramparts.
I do think. I mean, listen. I think that's asking a lot out of a young goalie to show up in the next year and be red hot and be in a position where you think he can take the reins.
Right.
But it's possible, right? Like starting next year, there's a goalie that comes out and you're like, what if there's a Binnington situation where you're like, look at what that guy just did.
Yeah, and he's not
like, I guess I'm playing the field. It is a Fergie. It's very 50. These guys have the inside track right now, without question. But 2 years is what I'm saying is a long, long way to go. Confirm and deny, the Vegas Golden Knights should scare the Edmonton Oilers more than any other team in the West.
100% confirmed. The evidence is just watch the tapes from last year. McDavid and Draisaitl were playing out of their minds last year. The two best players in the league, and they were dominating. And the only thing that could have stopped them was the Vegas Golden Knights, and they did it. Of course, they should scare them. If you're talking about playoffs,
I'm talking playoffs. So instead of Vancouver,
that is 100% confirmed.
Yeah,
I confirm that too. Because they've been there, they've done it, they know how to win. I think they'll be healthy, assuming everyone's healthy. Theodore, Eichel, everyone's Stone, everyone's ready to rock.
But they might have a little Salt Bay, the Oilers, and they might sprinkle the new oil with the defensive twists that they have.
Oh yeah, the Knobloch twist, the
Knobloch defensive twist, Salt Bay, little spice in the defensive zone, the neutral zone, and
no one's saying that they can't beat Vegas.
You know what? I just. It's been bothering me because I was racking my brain. Tristan Jarry's Canadian.
Tristan Jarry is Canadian.
Jordan Binnington's Canadian. These guys they deserve some love too. So anyways, I'd go back.
I mean, Tristan Jarry's not playing on Canada. I'm sorry.
I don't think he'll be the number one, but you never know. 2 years
Point
from now,
being,
we'll
okay.
see.
So anyways, going to this one, Colorado should scare the hell out of them too.
More so than Vegas? Who's your number one?
It will be Vegas, just Vegas.
Both have beat them.
But that's the thing. It was Colorado the year before. I'm going to say Vegas just because that's their most recent kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
But Vegas has to be healthy. They're not healthy.
The assumption
right now.
is they will. Eichel will be okay. Theodore will be okay. Stone.
Yeah.
Again, assumptions.
It
you
should
don't
be.
know that,
I mean,
but,
what if it's Vancouver?
well, that's the thing. Like Vancouver, I think Vancouver has gotten the attention of everybody without question. But there's a difference between acknowledging now Vancouver can do it and then saying Vancouver will do it.
Right.
You know, like there's still a pecking order out west, and Vancouver is in a group where if they were to go to a cup final, I don't think anyone would be surprised.
Right.
But do I have them ahead of a healthy Vegas? Probably not. Ahead of a healthy Oilers? Probably not. Colorado, you know, like they're in that group
Until you
for
prove
sure.
it,
But
like we don't have a sample size for them other than the bubble, which was
and even that was 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, and yeah, they won a couple rounds. It was announced over the weekend that the World Cup that's coming here in 2026, which is going to be wild. Think about this: we get the Winter Games that year and the World Cup. Like between February of 26 and the end of July, like there's a lot of big events going on. Canada will play their first game at BMO Field and then the next two in Vancouver. There's a massive amount of travel within the tournament. To put that into perspective, I believe the U.S. is going L.A., Seattle, L.A. Confirm or deny Canada traveling from Toronto to Vancouver during the World Cup is a big disadvantage.
Deny. Give me a break. It's 4 hours on a private bird. The airport, police escort, you're there in 15 minutes, and then you're on a private bird. You're at another hotel in 5 hours.
Time change.
What are we talking about?
Time change.
3 hour time.
And it's the Canadian Soccer Association. Like, they could screw up a 2-car parade the way that things operate with them right now.
But I've done this type of travel. I know what I'm talking about. This is nonsense for you to think that this is an issue.
Okay.
I mean,
for me, I believe it's, I want to say I saw the boys talking about it on the panel. Luke and the guys were talking. It's like the second longest travel in World Cup history.
Really?
Okay, then build in the excuse and make it an excuse and go out there and play like garbage and blame it on the flight.
I mean, I guess it's self-inflicted. I would assume FIFA had a role in that. And I know why Canada wants to be playing in Toronto.
Yeah, because they want everybody to be happy.
Right. But just set up shop. Wherever it's going to be, set up your shop.
It is.
And play there.
It's because
I'll
Canada's
confirm it.
landmass is so, if you were in Europe, everything's a quick little 40-minute, half an hour flight.
Well,
Canada,
USA is pretty big too, but the USA team's going Seattle, LA.
Yeah, but Seattle, LA is like
that's nothing, and you're on the Pacific time zone.
And same time zone. You're going across the country. I still think it's not that big of a deal. You should be conditioned, like food, everything. So I'm going to deny it.
Hey, you bring Russ Wilson onto the bird, do some high knees, and let
that was still one
out.
of the most heroic things I've ever
most heroic ever. And how did it work out for him?
Not the best.
Yeah, not the best for Russ.
Right.
That's right. I was doing workouts all the way over from Denver to London.
He's a free agent now?
Well, I don't think they can't make a transaction yet. The league is still going on, but I believe like the first day of the next season, Russ, I think he'll be cut.
Really?
No one's going to trade for him.
That's why they didn't want him hurt.
Yes.
So that they can.
Right. Basically, hey, you got to, if you didn't they wanted him to restructure his deal. And if he didn't, they weren't going to play him. And he didn't.
The scary thing is some other
won't.
dumb team's going to give him $30 million.
Someone will. Yeah. Hey, listen, it's a desperation position. Like, you need to have a quarterback. He's done it before. And it went, they will sell the idea that it just didn't work in Denver. And you can get the guy back from Seattle.
Yeah.
All right, final one. Confirm and deny Taylor Swift will be shown at least once before the game, during every quarter, and after the game.
100% confirmed. It's not even a question.
Really? You don't think they'll take a quarter off?
The lock of the century, especially if Kelsey makes a catch or something.
Or a
that's
non-catch.
The cutaway.
Or anything big. Every cutaway is Taylor Swift.
Should have had.
You know television. You should know that.
Every quarter, they're not going to take a quarter off?
No.
Like any guys who run the truck, either direct or produce, that question is like guaranteed.
I'd go a step further, a 2-pack a quarter. Twice a quarter.
Okay, let's make it 2-pack.
I'm still
denied. It's not a 2-pack.
Yeah, I 100% confirm
not a
it.
2-pack.
They are going. I guarantee that should be another bet. How many times does Taylor Swift get shown during the game?
Well, I'm sure you can bet on that. Like I would guess there's a line.
Over 10.
Yeah.
10 plus.
So that's when the ball kicks off to the final buzzer, not before the game, not after the game on the field.
Not before, because as you're settling, the first time the Chiefs run out onto the field, they'll flash
She'll be up there.
Kelsey, and there's Taylor waiting for her
They'll show her arrival. They'll probably do something about her flying in.
Right.
There'll be
bird.
graphics of Tokyo to Vegas.
There'll be a whole thing, the flight tracker, all of that. It is 10
it's
plus.
It's all coming. Seeing quotes from the mayor of Vegas. I'll tell you what she said. And if you're an Oakland Athletics fan, it's just one last kick. Swear in the junk.
Take a break and tell me.
All right. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right. Luke's coming up from Vegas, possibly the future home of the Athletics, Major League Baseball. Carolyn Goodman is the mayor of Vegas. She was on the Front Office Sports podcast recently, and you want to hear what she had to say?
We have a very large complex, probably about 60 acres. We probably could cobble together more land so they could possibly have 100 acres. And it's in the historic old part of town, which is where all major interstate highways come together. We have 7 access points to it. It is in an opportunity zone. There are all these benefits. And so when they said no, I thought, this doesn't make sense. And so why is it happening? And then I thought, well, because they really want to stay in Oakland. They want to be on the water. They have that magnificent dream, and yet they can't get it.
Would it be a good thing if the A's do, in fact, move to the Tropicana?
I personally, I'm not talking about anybody else, anywhere else in this community. I personally think they've got to figure out a way to stay in Oakland and make their dream come true.
Oh my God!
So my read, and admittedly, I'm a cynical guy. Is I want nothing to do with that dumpster fire in Vegas. This is a winner's town. The Golden Knights just won a cup. We already have Mark Davis. That's enough for us.
Yeah. Isn't most political stances like we're going to do anything in our power to get these guys here?
Right.
Yeah. He just said they need to figure out a way to stay in Oakland.
Find that dream.
Good luck. Yeah,
fulfill that dream out. It's a dream by the water in Oakland.
Yeah, and it's posturing and it's all kinds of business where they want to play, but that's a tough call.
Yeah, and now I guess she had to issue a follow-up statement saying, I want to reiterate, I really would love the idea. It's like, come on, Carolyn. Yeah. You want nothing to do with the A's. No. And I can't blame you. I wouldn't either.
They were going to bring that possum or whatever that was living.
Right. Exactly. No one wants anything to do with the Oakland Athletics. All right. Final hour coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.